Well, it's been quite a bit of alone in the dark the past couple of months. I mean, we've played 3 completely separate games, all called Alone in the Dark, all supposedly in the same series. But you wouldn't know it if they weren't called Alone in the Dark, and if the main character was not named Edward Carnby, because, man, these games have not had much in common. We've played the first Alone in the Dark. We played Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, the first reboot. And we played Alone in the Dark 2008, the second reboot. And, well, especially that last one, 2008, that seemed like that could have just not have been an Alone in the Dark game. That kind of seems like the name was just maybe pasted on. Possibly, but I mean, who's to say? That's speculation that I can't make. All I can say is that we have finished those games, and now the third Alone in the Dark reboot, coming out later this year. I would say that we are prepared to handle the madness of more Alone in the Dark. I mean, whatever... win in the water. Whatever we get from the new reboot, it's going to go in the water again. There we go. Trying to thread the needle on this. There we go. Just needed to hit it a little harder. Whatever we get, I think that we can all assume it's going to be better than 2008. So 2008 was, well, I said near the end, I think, of playing the game. 2008 is bad in some seriously astounding ways. I mean, of these Alone in the Darks we played so far, I would definitely say the first one is the one I had the best time with. I like that one quite a bit. New Nightmare, I thought had a pretty strong first half. Well, first 2/3. And, I liked that you had 2 separate characters with 2 separate campaigns, but man, in the case of both characters, things fell apart near the end, didn't they? They sure did. They sure did. And then 2008, which is just a jaw-dropping presentation of madness the whole way through. I hope you enjoyed watching it, because I know I did not enjoy playing it. But maybe it's time to take a little bit of a break from Alone in the Dark. Maybe it's time. And right now I'm taking a little bit of a break by playing some mini-golf. And of course, the best game of last year. Oh, that's going down the hole. Walkabout Mini-Golf VR. This is a new course that came out for it. Where are we playing mini golf? Well, not in Central Park. I can tell you that much. That's not where we're playing mini golf. They probably wouldn't let you do it in real Central Park either. They probably would have some sort of rule against it, I imagine. This is a mini golf version of Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth. And that is the format that Jules Verne always intended for you to enjoy his story in mini-golf format. We all know this. I can't believe it took until now to make it happen. But while I'm playing some mini-golf now, a question might be, what are we going to be come on, you can go a little further than that. Just a little bit further. That's an extra stream. What are we going to do on stream? What's stream time? Oh, that went too far. It's easy to hit it too hard. It bounces right out. Got to land on the green material. It's not really grass in this game. It looks more like a green carpet, but that's where it has to go on. It's a disqualification anywhere else. What are we streaming? What is going to be the streaming materials to crochet together your video game sweater? That's probably a metaphor of some kind. I'm making right now. What are we doing? Well, been trying out a few games, of course, as we do. I don't think I can bounce that in there from this angle. Yeah. Tried out a few games. I was hoping that would bounce off that wall. It did not. Doing terribly right now. And one game that I do want to go back to, a game that piqued my interest, is Growing My Grandpa. We did a session of that where we found, you know, we're playing as a child who has maybe a bit of a troubled home life, and we found a brand new grandpa for us in the basement. We are growing him, feeding him nice, healthy nutrients like fiberglass, and he loves it. He loves it. We got to see what Grandpa grows into. It's important. So that is what we're going to be streaming following the end of Alone in the Dark 2008. I don't expect that will take long. It doesn't seem like a long game. No, I kind of like this area right here. If you've played Walkabout Mini Golf, the water here would look unusual because most of the courses here don't have moving obstacles. There are some where things are moving around, but most of them, everything sort of just stays still. But here you have moving water flooding the course, and that will drag your ball away if it gets into the water. So, like I said, Growing My Grandpa, not going to be long. I don't expect we're going to be spending much time on that, though I think there are a couple endings to that. So, I don't know if we're doing more than one playthrough, if that's what's needed to get 2 endings, or if... I don't know actually how you get the endings, so that's something we're going to have to learn. But since Growing My Grandpa will certainly not take the entire month of July, I would assume, what will we be doing after that? Well, I said we're taking a break from Alone in the Dark, but not a long one, because we're just going right back to Alone in the Dark, because we have to play 2. We tried out 2, and 2 was ridiculous from the first area I played, so I guess I gotta continue that, right? I can't just not continue Edward Carnby's adventures in breaking into a mansion and gunning everyone down. Are they zombies? Are they monsters? Or are they just regular human beings? Edward Carnby does not care. I wonder if in 2, if Carnby has gotten the stone yet, you know? Lucifer's stone. Because it's all canon, right? It's all canon. And I'm sure that if we were to examine Carnby in part 2 closely enough, we would find that he was already possessed by Lucifer. That's why he's gunning these people down without a care for their lives, see? It all ties together. It all ties together, just like me chipping this ball onto that giant mushroom. It all ties together. But, you know, if we're playing Alone in the Dark 2, well, I mean, we can't just do 2, right? Because there's the prequel game. Well, I guess I should say a promo sort of prequel game. Jack in the Dark, like a very short Alone in the Dark game that was made as a promo for Alone in the Dark 2, starring Grace. That won't take long. You know, we play that, then we play Alone in the Dark 2. And then, I mean, once you play 2, don't you have to play 3? I think there's a law somewhere that says you have to do that. That says, hey, you played 1, you played 2, you played Jack in the Dark. I mean, you should probably play this 3rd one. And I'm like, all right. I don't want to, you know, get in trouble with, like, the president or anything. He's going to come to my house and yell at me if I don't do that. I guess I have to. And then, once I do all that, then I guess, by law, I then have to play the Game Boy Color version of The New Nightmare. Because that game, from what I've seen of it, it's very different from the actual version of the game. You know, we played the Dreamcast version. There's also, like, a Windows version. There's a PlayStation 1 version. But those are all, like, versions of the same game. The Game Boy Color version of New Nightmare is an interesting adaptation. Like, that's not a game you could actually port onto the Game Boy, but man, whoever that developer was, they seem to do their very best at somehow making that happen. So, I guess we gotta do that. I guess we're not actually nearly done with Alone in the Dark, are we? Doesn't seem like it. Oh, that should have gone in. Bounced right off the cup, like Edward Carnby throwing a Molotov at a giant tree surrounded by a force field and just bounces off. You're like, what the hell? I need to increase my spectral vision to get a better score on this course. That was in the Jules Verne novel, you know? Journey to the Center of the Earth. Before they went on their expedition, they said, okay, we have to burn the trees so we increase our spectral vision. We're going to need it on our journey into the Earth, where the dinosaurs are. See the dinosaur bones? You can see some dinosaurs in the background over there. This is all under the ground. This is in the Earth. If we look up, maybe we can see the roots of the evil trees, even. Maybe. Is this Lucifer's skeleton right here? I mean, I can't say no. How do I know that? I'm just one man. How do I know for sure? Bounced off Lucifer's teeth. I don't think I can chip it over that. Maybe get it around there. I am not doing so well on this hole. But what I am doing fairly well at is going through these Alone in the Dark games. So, in the month of July, we're going to grow our grandpa. After that, we're going to Jack in the Dark. After that, we're going to Alone in the Dark 2. And then after that, Alone in the Dark 3. And then after that, Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare on the Game Boy Color. Oh. When I'm recording and I'm looking this way, we get like kind of a bad frame rate. That doesn't happen normally. Only when I'm just recording it now, getting kind of like a weird frame rate when I look out into the distance over there. Oh no, it's going into the water. No, oh. Just saved. It's got saved from going into the water. I think that if I can get it into that hole, then it'll go along there. That's how you get a hole-in-one on this one. I have not been able to do that. I have not. Now, I assume that's going to take us all of July, right? Even if the games are short, and they are short games. I don't think... I don't think we could possibly finish them all before the month is over. I think that this is going to take us all through that. Growing My Grandpa, Jack in the Dark, Alone in the Dark 2, Alone in the Dark 3, Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare on the Game Boy Color. All short games, so we should be getting a good amount of variety throughout the month, even though it is all Alone in the Dark. Just to make sure we're as prepared as we can possibly be to have a discerning eye when we get the new Alone in the Dark later this year. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, I hope it's good. I liked the demo. Like, the demo was very short. There was not much content in the demo, but I enjoyed what was there. I enjoyed the look and the tone of it. And I have some pretty high hopes for what we're going to get. I hope they're met. I hope those hopes are met. Will they get a hole-in-one? Well, no. I guess not, because I did not get a hole-in-one. But maybe the developers of the new Alone in the Dark will get a hole-in-one. We won't know until later this year. And after all this, it'll be kind of disappointing if that game doesn't turn out to be any good. Oh, that just rolled out again. Same way, too. After all this Alone in the Darking we're doing this year, in the year 2023, I will be a bit disappointed if it goes in, if the ball goes in the water like that. That's just bouncing right out. This is not a good sign for Alone in the Dark later this year. Yeah, every attempt is just bouncing right out. Is this a sign? Is this a premonition? for how the new Alone in the Dark will turn out. I think we can only assume that it is. It's like Groundhog Day, except it's mini golf. Look, I didn't even get it in the hole. Stroke limit reached. Edward Carnby very used to reaching his stroke limit. I don't know what that means. He's a lonely man, I guess. He's a lonely man. I mean, we thought that he would end up... we thought he'd end up with Sarah, who they fell in love after knowing each other for, like, I don't know, a few hours. And then he gave her CPR, and then she kissed him, and then he said, "You know you're pretty when you're quiet." And then she swooned. How could any woman resist this rugged, football-textured piece of man-meat known as Edward Carnby? You know what the trick is? The trick is the slices of ham that he glues to his clothes. Like, they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that that is how you become irresistible, but that is a big part of it. It is funny that of these games we've played, like the characters that actually had, you know, some sort of chemistry were the new Nightmare characters. But of course we cannot bring Aline back, and that version of Edward never existed. It never existed. That exists in a different timeline that will never be followed up on. That just exists in its own little world. The timeline that we are following up on is the timeline of well, not exactly the first game, because this is a reboot of the first game, unless this new version of Alone in the Dark is actually like a reboot, but also sequel to the first game, which, you know, that's a popular thing to do. You thought it was a reboot? Guess what, motherfucker? You were wrong about that. People love it. People love it. And maybe we'll love it later this year. Journey to the 700. I did terrible. I did 5 over par. The best I've done is 9 under par, and that's not what happened today. It is not. My journey, my subterranean excursion, is a failure. I should feed myself to the dinosaurs. But maybe Edward Carnby will get fed to the No, there were no dinosaurs in Alone in the Dark. There were like watermen. You remember the water guys? Like, they were just at the end of the game. There were people or like, I don't know, monsters in the water. We saw them in the demo. I don't know. Maybe he'll die horribly by Fishman. We will see. Well, that's it for golf, for mini golf. But that is not it for Alone in the Dark. When I post this, it should be tonight's stream that we get back to growing my grandpa. Our little break between aloning it in the dark. I hope you enjoy the streams in July. Of course, the schedule, as always, are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/supergreatfriend. There is no D at the end, because we don't want to attract Dracula. It's very important.